If you've ever expressed your truth and had it blow up in your face, or if you've ever been misunderstood, ridiculed, and rejected for something that you know to be true inside, or if you want to learn how to express yourself in a way that it not only lands for others but can't be rejected, then this video is for you. This is the first video of our 3-part Your Vibe Attracts Your Tribe series, where we're going to help you understand why you haven't already found your tribe and what you can do to change that. And in this video, I'm going to share with you a 3-part formula, which I call the Rejection-Proof Your Bold Truth formula. It's going to help you learn how to express any bold truth to anyone, anywhere, anytime. That means your family members, including the ones that you have resentments or past traumas with, including romantic partners, whether that's wanting to express your deepest desires or fears that you have in the relationship. It could be your coworkers, your clients, or literally anyone. You can use this formula to express any of your boldest truth in a way that you just simply can't be rejected. During the pandemic, I was living in Nova Scotia, Canada, and it was as if overnight the entire province was locked down. We weren't allowed to go to parks. We weren't allowed to go to beaches. We weren't even allowed to talk to our neighbors within 6 feet, or we could be fined $2,000 each. We were expected to just stay home and completely isolate ourselves. As soon as the pandemic was announced, I could feel something wasn't right inside of my body. It was as if my body was saying, no, this just doesn't make sense. I was suspicious at first, but didn't really know what to think. Then I started hearing doctors and leaders and other experts speaking out and saying that the pandemic measures were unnecessary, especially with how they were handled in Nova Scotia, Canada. I started to post videos sharing my own opinions, which were eventually taken down from social media. I attended freedom rallies and spoke out and shared my truth, and then those freedom rallies were eventually shut down as well, even though it's a constitutional right in Canada to be able to host freedom rallies. I remember feeling this twisting knot inside of my stomach, as if I was sharing something that I knew was right. I could just feel it right inside of me, yet people weren't listening. I eventually got fed up and I realized that I couldn't stay in Canada anymore. I decided to travel to Mexico and Costa Rica to get away from the pandemic and the vaccine mandates. During this time in Canada, I learned 2 things. One, I learned that speaking my truth can get me rejected, it can get me criticized, it can get me ridiculed. But 2, not speaking my truth was so much more painful. It was killing me inside. I just couldn't even go anywhere. I couldn't even look at people. I had all this rage and anger inside of me. And so I eventually moved to Costa Rica, then to Mexico, and I realized that there were people from all over the world who believed in similar things to me. There were no vaccine mandates in Mexico or Costa Rica. There were very little restrictions during those times, and people were allowed to live their lives. I met people from all over the world in places like Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, Europe, and other places in the world who believed similar things and saw the world in similar ways to me. And I realized that it wasn't what I was saying that was usually getting rejected by others, but it was actually how I was saying it. Sometimes I would express my truth in a way to people that would almost seem either demanding or preaching, or maybe I would just express it at a time or in a way that they just weren't ready to receive. And I realized that I could actually learn to express my truth in a way that people could listen, where it could get through their egoic, subconscious defenses and walls and could actually open them up and soften them up to receiving the truth. So I'm going to share that truth with you now. And again, it's a 3-part formula. I call it the Rejection-Proof Your Bold Truth formula. This is going to help you express your truth in a way that it lands for others and it just can't be rejected. So number 1 is to ask permission. So I always like to ask permission, or at least I like to ask permission, maybe not always. I like to ask permission before I express my bold truth so that I can open the other person up to receiving it. Because sometimes people just aren't ready to receive what I have to share. Sometimes people just aren't in the mood, or they don't have the headspace, or they don't have the capacity, or they're just kind of irritated with me. And sharing my bold truth at that time just might not land. And so I want to check in and make sure it's okay at this time for me to share a bold truth with them. So I might say, hey, listen, I've got a bold truth I want to share with you. Are you open to hear it right now? Or hey, there's something I feel really vulnerable about sharing with you. Are you open to me sharing that with you right now? So I want to get some kind of verbal consent from the person about sharing my truth before I share it so that they're open and ready to receive it. Number 2, I express my vulnerabilities. So if I'm feeling scared, I will say that. If I'm feeling nervous, I will say that. I might say something like, I feel scared to share this with you because I'm afraid that I'm going to be criticized. I'm afraid that you might reject me or you might be angry at me. Or I'm a little scared to share this with you because I'm not sure how you're going to react. And I'm imagining that you could be upset by what I'm about to share with you. So number 2, I'm expressing my vulnerabilities. If I'm feeling nervous, if I'm feeling scared, if I'm feeling insecure, I'll share that with them because first of all, it helps them understand me a little bit better. It helps them understand where I'm coming from. And I've noticed that when I share my vulnerabilities, they tend to soften. a little bit. They tend to not be so intense for me. At least that's how I would describe the experience. And then number 3, speak from sovereignty. Now, this changed my life. I remember hearing a coach named Jackie Netchell in 2019 say, I create the story that you, and I forget what else she said. That sentence stem, I create the story, is how I differentiate between the stories I'm creating, my opinions of the world, versus facts, things that I can objectively see. Like, this is a couch. I create the story that the couch is soft. That's my opinion. That's how I feel about it. I'm creating the story that it's soft, but it's actually just a couch. And soft is an interpretation or a diagnosis or a word that I can use to describe something that's subjective. It's my own personal experience. So I learned to express my personal experiences, my stories, my theories, my ideas about the world using sentence stems like I create the story, I tell myself, or I imagine. So it could be, I tell myself that the pandemic was mishandled. I create the story that the food industry is feeding people poison and telling them that it's food. I create the story that the medical industry is prescribing addictive, heavy drugs to people and pretending that it's medicine. When I say it this way, I give the other person the chance to consent or agree with what I'm saying. When I say it this way, I give them the chance to enroll themselves, to comply to what I'm saying without me projecting it onto them. I could say the food industry is poisoning people, or I could say the medical industry is creating addictions in people. And while that may be factual if I was to do some research, when I express it from a place of personal sovereignty, personal opinion, and from a place of total responsibility, I create the story, I tell myself, I imagine, then again, I give the other person the opportunity to decide if they agree with the same thing. So I've started to add this sentence stem into anything where I'm giving an opinion or I'm giving an interpretation or a diagnosis of the situation. When I think that it's going to rain, or someone might say, I'm creating the story that it might rain today, or I imagine that it might rain today. Or if somebody is frustrated with me and I'm not sure why, or I imagine that they're frustrated with me, I'm not sure why, I might say, hey, I'm imagining that you're frustrated with me right now. Is that true? Instead of saying, you look frustrated, which is just an opinion, just an interpretation, I could say, I'm imagining that you're frustrated. Is that true? Or I'm creating the story that you might be upset with me for something. Is that true? So again, the 3-part rejection-proof your bold truth formula is 1, ask permission. Give the person a chance to consent to receiving your truth right now. See if they're actually ready to receive what you have to share. Number 2, express your vulnerabilities. If you're scared, say you're scared. If you're nervous, say you're nervous. I was nervous at the beginning of this video. I didn't actually say it, but I'm saying it to you now. And then number 3, speak from sovereignty. I create the story that the way the pandemic's being handled or was handled was just not healthy for our people. And I tell myself that the way the American elections go is sometimes more drama than actually creating service for the people. And I tell myself that the way that mainstream media portrays men and women is sometimes damaging to romantic relationships. And when I say it this way, it gives people a chance to say, do I create that story? Do I tell myself that? Do I imagine that? And then if the answer is yes, there's a bond created. And if the answer is no, the best part, for me at least, is that there's no disconnection created. Now they might, if they're very sensitive, if they're very particular about their viewpoints and their opinions, maybe they get a little offended by what you say. But generally in my experience, when I express myself this way, people tend to just say, whatever, that's your problem. If that's the story you create, that's your problem. That's not my problem. That has nothing to do with me. So again, number 1, ask permission. Number 2, express your vulnerabilities. And number 3, speak from a place of sovereignty. Own your personal experience. Separate your fact from your imaginations or your fictions or the stories that you tell yourself, and speak from a place of responsibility and sovereignty, and see how that lands for other people. See how people respond when you speak that way. Thanks for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed the content. If you're already in our community, Conscious Intimacy Academy, you've played this game with us before, you know some of these techniques. If you're not part of our community, you can learn about us very soon. We'll tell you more information about that another time. But I'd love to know below if you could comment and let us know, how did this video land for you? How was the content? Have you ever used any of these techniques in the 3-part rejection-proof your bold truth formula? Let me know below. Or if you received this by email, respond by the email and let us know too. And watch out for the next video, because we have a next video coming up that talks a little bit more about why being the most conscious person in the room is not always a good thing. It's not always working for you. If you're the most conscious person in your social circle, if you're the most conscious person in your community, that might be the reason that you're not finding your tribe. So check out that video next. We'll send it to you very soon. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.